One extra coin on the side of minimoult. However, this is pretty neutral enough for me to accept this map and play on. So, uh, is it? It's roughly balanced. We'll take it anyway. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Harrison. We are back for another series of Age of Empires 3 for you today. This is part of the EPL number 2, week number 5, between the Mandarin Duck Squad and the New World Champions, or New World Challengers, shall I say. They're not the champions just yet. They need to have a good week versus the Mandarin Duck Squad to have a chance to go into the playoffs. And this is the action between the two teams, MDS and New World Challengers, fighting for that remaining playoff spot. The first playoff spot likely to go to the QSA Management Company. So these series between these two teams hotly anticipated this week. We have, spawning into the northeastern map, we have Stanley Winston playing as the Spanish in the colour red. He'll be playing for the New World Challengers. His opponent, minimoult, will be playing as the British in orange, colour he's liked so far. And I've really been impressed with minimoult's tournament so far. Minimoult's been playing really well. Hoping to see some more of this action from Mini as the games go on. Was recently a captain, but has muscled his way up the ladder to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. So expecting some good games, and if anything, he's slightly in favour of Stanley Winston. Stanley has the more match practice. My prediction before the series begins will be a 3-2 for minimoult here, but I'm expecting Stanley Winston to pick up games here. He's also had a decent series so far in the EPL number 2. We see minimoult picking up 50 wood down to the south. Stanley Winston working on this 80 wood treasure to the north. Crackshotting one of the grizzly bears. Also getting a really good snare creep in on this other grizzly. He hasn't even needed to use his war dog to come in and help do the damage. But now, going for the Spanish war dog. Actually, though, he might lose it. It's close. He's on 1 HP and manages to pick up that grizzly bear with 1 HP remaining on his war dog. I still think, with the Spanish Explorer still at 380 HP or 370, he could have actually tanked the HP damage on his Explorer first and try and just protect his War Dog a little bit longer. These units do auto upgrade through the ages, and if you lose this War Dog, you lose the scouting potential. It's 75 food worth of resources going down, and can actually help pick up a low HP Explorer, but it's like Mini's Explorer, also on decently high HP, and is working on a Iroquois Tomahawk treasure to the right hand side of the map. Looks like minimoult is aging up with 16 vills, single manor house down, nothing else with it. So it looks like it was a single food crate start for both players, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm struggling to see if it was a wood crate start where that remaining wood was. We do see Stanley Winston having 1 house down, now chopping up, but did get the nice 80 wood treasure in transition, and looks to be that Stanley Winston already has sent his 3 villager card, but has no shipment waiting. Looks like a shipment is on the way. Looks like Stanley Winston here is going to go for an advanced trading post play. And he's waiting. You can see he's waiting for the shipment to come in, and will be throwing down a TP once that arrives. But we also have 1 villager to the south throwing down a trading post, and I would like to see a 3rd villager out for Stanley Winston just to capture 1, and that way the Explorer can build 2, and then the other 2 settlers can build 1 apiece, and to try and get a good early control on. But minimoult, though, he's playing the British civilization. Likes to throw down a lot of manor houses. Manor houses give you settlers as well, and it's a very good way to grow your economy in a short amount of time, grabs experience. So the British player going for the economy boom, Stanley Winston going for the TP play, which will give him some map control, and eventually will give him economy if he manages to get the stagecoach upgrade in as well. But looks like minimoult, his Explorer is starting to take down his settler, but doesn't do much damage to the settler. War Dog's nearby to help back him up, but extra 38 HP on that age up there, 18 hand attack. It won't be enough to defeat this Explorer, but this train post is being built by Stanley. This one's being built by Stanley. Outpost is going down on the one which hasn't been built from Mini yet. Stanley's Explorer has now just built his 2nd trading post. And the fact that this extra Explorer settler, so yes, Stanley did bring a 3rd villager to the middle of the map, is now secured 4-0, and minimoult looks to be in a position to actually pick up this trading post for himself. However, 4-1 versus Stanley. That means I think the Spanish player will be quite happy to go for Stagecoach here and try and make the most of that early XP and resources that the training post offers. Yeah, the native Tomahawk there doing some good damage versus the Settler. The Settler only has 20 HP. Still actually out front of the base, dropping down a house, trying to herd in. But these two villagers may want to get back towards the town centre though. Forward outpost here from Minimoult. Does send 700 wood first, but you never know what could be following up from Minimoult here. Could be a 6 musketeer shipment to try and siege down this outpost in the middle of the map and just try and protect this sole trading post, because having this trading post up on the line is just so detriment to what Stanley wants to do. Stanley, it really wants a 5-0 TP control here, so early musketeers from Minimoult would surely help out here. Does have 5 in queue. 5 musketeers from the barracks with a 6 musketeer timing from the outpost could be really strong at this point. Otherwise, Minimoult can just send more villagers, send more wood for manor houses. He's still building manor houses at back, has the gang saw and steel traps, and so his economy is in good place at the moment already. Minimoult getting the crack shots off on this 320 experience treasure. That is quite a nice play there. I feel like the Spanish player, he's on the back foot. He's invested so much into this TP play. He does have a few musketeers out, but his H2 infantry shipments of the pikemen and rodilleros be quite ineffective versus the musketeer mass that the British players surely going to go for here. So Minimoult has that military tempo advantage in the second age, and it feels that he's quite happy to start working on his treasure, and will come back for it with his explorer at a later point. 600 wood was the next shipment from Minimoult. He's gone for a second batch of 5 musketeers here. Could go for 5 pikemen here. Mixed up a little bit. Have 10 musketeers to do with the infantry of Stanley Winston. And then those 5 pikemen help with the sieging down of the advanced training post as well, just to try and get a bit of control. But follows up with 5 settlers. Stanley Winston, 700 coin, 600 coin. Still making musketeers though. Like, he has a lot of coin in the bank stocked up, but he's been spending so much of his food on military in the second age. He is not advancing just yet, but with a 4-1 TP advantage, those 3 extra trading posts that the Spanish player has on top of the British player suggests that the eco for these two players are relatively equal actually at the moment. And Minimoult is losing a couple musks for free against Stanley's amass, so we don't usually see the Spanish player here getting the early military advantages over the British player. Both players doing the musketeer dance in front of their respective towers. Minimoult was hoping to siege down this outpost and just prevent this forward spawn point, but Stanley Winston's training extra musketeers has allowed him to kind of delay this, pick up a few extra units, and he's now aging up behind this, but I think he's bought himself enough time to age up safely behind this. Can train still more units behind this to stabilise, but it wasn't a naked FF with Minimoult pushing out with military. Stanley has his own military behind this, and is just going to return to the base. He has a shipment ready to go, could go for veteran musketeers, sends 2 falconets, and then push out afterwards. In the meantime though, looking at Stanley's eco, Stanley Winston himself has steel traps, placer mines, and when you have this stagecoach line, you can set the stagecoach to wood or coin. You can leave on experience, but if you have the wood income from the stagecoach, then these extra marketects, very easy for the Spanish player to get up, and then with all your villagers now on food and coin instead of having to chop wood, just the effect of having these extra strong market upgrades on your villagers who are spending more of their time hunting and mining, really strong. I really like Stanley's build here. Stanley went ATP, well 3-vil ATP, 700 wood, 5-vil, and then the coin crates to get the age up in afterwards. Minimoult though, Musketeer attack card has just come in, and Stanley should be wary that the British player can go for Musk combat cards in the second age and will want to back off here, and he does take a few light skirmishes with Minimoult, but doesn't engage anything too heavily, and that would make no sense. Stanley's about to go to the next stage, get his veterancy upgrade, as well as go for some unit shipments, and it looks like Stanley was sending a shipment, but then cancelled it. because he no longer needed the colonial shipments and now has 2 Fortress Age shipments ready to go, as well as a third not too far away. So Stanley looking to hold off this aggression for about another minute and a half, 2 minutes, and just we're going to see the Spanish mass absolutely explode. Minimoult now starting to push in with his musketeers with the attack buff, but Stanley Winston now has the veterancy musketeers, and these musketeers drastically outclass the British ones at this moment. Minimoult can send infantry HP, but even still, Stanley's musketeers are stronger, and now with 2 falconets out on the field as well, Stanley Winston's army is looking very, very, very strong. Minimoult, 700 coin, looking to get the age up in, but I fear for Minimoult, but this might be too slow versus what Stanley wanted to do, and the British player, just like Spain, only have slow age up times or no fast advance. It's going to take a while for Minimoult to get to the 3rd age where he can send his own cannons and upgrade to veterancy musketeers. So Stanley Winston has this massive opportunity to make the most out of the window that Mini has given him, and let's see if he'll be able to do that. Okay, Minimoult has just clicked up to the next age, but he's having to engage with this Spanish army already, really before he wants to. The Hussars from the scout age up from Stanley Winston snaring the British army, just allowing to keep these guys in the range of the crossbows and the veteran musketeers a little bit longer. Falconets though working on the outposts instead of this infantry mass. I would really like to see Stanley pull these falconets onto the musketeers. The outpost, it does do 30 range attack. It's not insignificant, but if you can go in onto the musketeers and take down 5 or 6 of the cannons, that'd be so strong. 5 lancers, next card from the Spanish player, reinforcing, charging across the map very, very quickly, and will do very well versus any longbow switch here. Also does respectable versus these colonial musketeers. Reinforcing batch of 10 rods just chilling by the falconets. Good cover versus any hussar play Mini wants to do in the 2nd age, but Mini now having 1700 food, bit of coin. I don't think Minimoult's trying to go for a fast industrial here. That would be suicide. Yeah, he doesn't have the coin in deck for that. He also doesn't have a 9 musketeer shipments, which maybe a musketeer shipment could be quite nice just to try and bolster your army, but your first card here most likely will be the falconets, but I feel that Stanley Winston is just miles in the lead. 70 military population versus 25, and now has all 5 training posts under his own control. Feels like Stanley Winston is in a great position. Minimoult will age up with the adventurer. A couple of longbow out in the field for himself, but really insignificant compared to what Stanley's got. He's got a few skirmishers, lancers in queue, dropping down an artillery foundry with his very good wood eco from the stagecoach. A couple of hussars going for a flank, but these rodaleros are already veteran. 17 rods on the field. You should not be losing any cannons to hussars. Hussars going for a nice raid, but this is where the action is at, really, and it feels like Mini is just losing his base so quickly. All these houses giving great experience for the Spanish player to keep on sending shipments, and even sending the Caballeros card, increasing their multiplier and attack distance animation versus musketeers. Right, falconets are now out in the field for the British player. I feel Stanley Winston could have been right on top of that town centre though for a while and just kind of deny that shipment points available for Minimoult, but 2 falconets slowly edging their way forwards and try and get some good trades before they fully engage with the army. A bit of circle sieging here from Stanley. Will lose 4 units as a result of that. Stanley sent Caballeros, but he has 6 Lancers out in the field and units in queue. I'm hoping for a big batch of 5 here, and we do see 5 in queue. Hoping to see that those 5 out in the field, reinforcing very quickly. Falconet trade happens. It looks like only 1 Falconet shot from Mini actually hit and land on this Falconet, so 100 HP from Stanley's cannons going down, but losing his own cannon here. Stanley in the lead, 2-1 at the moment. Minimoult's options to come back in are very, very slim. Minutemen pop could be a good way to try and distract cannon fire, but Stanley's having none of that. He's pushing his cannons forward, but it actually will lose these guys before another volley comes off. But no matter, Rod's Lances on top of the Falconet. Musketeers can't really move to defend. They have to engage somewhat. Skirmishers behind from the Spanish player, picking off these veteran Musketeers very, very quickly. And, okay, big batch of Hussars. Rolleries on the other side. Many skirms here. That it's not completely over, but I'm still thinking all the settlers went down there as well. Pretty tough. 5 Hussars coming out, but still a couple Rolleries on the field with a 40% range hand resist. Will tank these Hussars very, very strong. And a couple of meaty Musketeers getting in on the action. Colonial Hussars do go down before picking off the Spanish army. More Lancers reinforcing. And we even have 2 Falconets being trained from the artillery foundry. Minimoult dropping down a mill, was running out of food left side, and did not push the right hand side Bisons. Let's go Stanley. Winston 1-0 for Stanley this series, and New World Challengers will be very, very happy to see their boy Stanley opening up very strong versus Minimoult, but have no fear, another 4 games are with you today. Village account for the British player looks very strong indeed due to those manor houses, but actually it was the eco of the Spanish player which edged out ahead due to that trading post play. And you can see once the stagecoach actually kicks in while gathering up the 700, 600 coin, that the Spanish player overtakes the British in terms of number of resources being gathered. But the strength of the stagecoach as well is a very consistent income. Look at this res line from the Spanish player, a very reliable flow of resources coming in, whereas the British player had to move out for all those hunts towards the end, was dropping down a market, had to chop the woods himself for infrastructure because he had no more wood shipments and stagecoach income. And that's why Stanley Winston, although the resources were very close and slightly edging out in the head, he could just invest many, many more of those resources into the army, and that military population is so drastically different. And Minimoult trading off some of that colonial army before getting to the third age, and that was a little bit of a mistake there. I understand he wanted to try and hold on to that trading post and hold on to that outpost as long as he could, but you were fighting off versus veteran musketeers with only slightly buffed colonial units, and these units here, it would have been so nice as a veteran to see once that third age comes in and try and defend from there. But I appreciate the pressure was very strong from Stanley in that game. Look at all this XP coming from the Spanish player. That's the dropping of all the training posts, but also the stagecoach upgrade as well. And depending on where that stagecoach was, if the upgrade was completed as the Discovery Age Travar was right here on this map, then it would auto complete the remainder of this cycle, and so it would get experience from every single trading post as it would have done before restarting its journey as a stagecoach, where it can then go into more experience or resources there. So that there is probably why this experience jumps up so strong. And I wonder if you can see in the XP. I think you can see here, that is when stagecoach comes in. And Stanley beforehand was on 1750, let's say 1800 XP. Afterwards, though, 1970. So about 200 experience points was given there and then at that moment. I think that's about 2 passes or maybe 3 TP. So I think the Discovery Age Travel was somewhere around here when that upgrade came in, and that's just an extra 200 XP there and then with the stagecoach then restarting. So stagecoach on 5 TP on this map is just so strong, especially when you hit the jackpot and time it perfectly. Right, let's hop into the next game. Ooh, very nice. Dhaka is the second game between these 2 players. Minimoult's already uses British civilization here, and Brits I feel they do all right on this map. They don't do super well, but they do all right. So minimoult surely should have some sort of idea what he wants to play on this map. Lots of options here. Sea to the south, train post in the middle, 4 land hunts behind your base, as well as starting hunt and 3 elephants. Lots of barriers to the north as well. We see lots of players going for low eco civs on this high resource map, and then focus on either one of the trading post income for extra resource income, or go for the berries and the berry upgrade and focus on that. Water play here, not often, but we see lots of action in the middle pond with shipments as players vie for control over the choke to the south and trading post control to the north, and just army movement from one side of the map to the other. And if your opponent overcommits to the pond, then great, you just go down to the southern sea or top side. Those ships can't cross the land. There may be a cheat code for that, but not in this tournament, there's not. Ezad, subscribing to ESOC. Thank you very much, Ezad. I hope you're enjoying the show, and I hope you're enjoying your compatriots. Stanley Winston for the New World Challengers, taken a 1-0 lead so far, so I bet you'll be very happy watching where you are. We do have another 4 games, so who knows? Stanley Winston could go for the 5-0. minimoult could go for the 4-1 reverse. I'm expecting players to trade games as we go on throughout the series, though. It looks like for the time being, it's still me, which I don't mind. I'm happy to keep you guys company through this series. Back into the game lobby, minimoult still thinking of a civilization to pick versus Stanley Winston's Aztecs. Aztecs, quite an aggressive civ recently. 2 Shaman age ups have been very strong. Can have access to the trading posts as well. With their Mace Holstons and Puma Spearmen. Pumas to take down the train posts, Mace Holstons to deal with any units trying to defend them. And also has the sea options to the south. Otto coming out from minimoult. And the Ottomans, they need their trading posts, so we're going to see a big fight for the trading post line on the top side. Tactical switch to the sea later on. Both civs have strong water options. I don't think the Ottomans here will go for the water, but the Aztecs with their water dance, fertility dance, have options to go for a mass fish and eco or a mass water navy very, very quickly and very, very strong, hoping that Stanley has the Talok canoes in his deck, which he does pick for this map. Right, the game's going to start between Stanley Winston for game number 2 versus minimoult. Score right now is 1-0 to Stanley Winston. We are here in game number 2 between these 2 players. minimoult representing the Mandarin Duck squad, taking on Stanley from New World Challengers. Quick look at the map. Looks like everything has spawned as it should have done. Both players having starting hunt elephants, 4 back hunts as well. Very nice. And we have the Ottoman coming out from minimoult here, and he'll be spawning to the left-hand side of the map. I do believe it's a food crate start. 1 house coming down. Does have 200 wood remaining in his bank account to spend on a trading post. Electing to go for the far north TP instead of trying to go for the earlier control on this trading post in the central portion of the map. Near the lake, but could be stolen from Stanley Winston if he's not careful. But it's also the safer TP and maybe the probably more sensible option to go for, considering the Aztec player may age up with 2 war huts and get out a very strong early military force. Stanley Winston playing as the Aztecs, spawning into the right hand side of the map. Fire pit down already for Stanley Winston. I'm expecting a house to come in. However, with 15 population, this isn't hacks confirmed. This is Stanley Winston picking up Empress Zoe's cookbook, which somehow increases their maximum population by 5. Well, I want a bit of that food which Empress Zoe is cooking. That sounds very delicious, but that has saved Stanley the need to go for a house in Age 1, which means less wood to chop to get that first train post down, then can throw down the house afterwards. But actually, that 50 wood treasure has kind of some... Okay, that 5 pop space has basically turned into 100 wood treasure, which early on is absolutely huge. And Stanley, I'm very impressed with the fact he's not dropping a house. He has villagers in queue. He's now sending his 3 vil behind this, looking to age up very soon afterwards. Somehow loses the tiger. I have no idea how that's happened. Maybe Stanley accidentally clicked on this tiger. It is only 1 tiger by 40 coins, so it's not like Stanley was working on a 2 tiger treasure though. But Stanley Winston, though, looking to age up with 15 vil pop, may want to eat a few of these yaks to minimise idle time. The Aztec player, they desperately want to be up as fast as possible because they have very good Age 1 XP income from their warrior priest. Minimoult being annoying with his Ottoman Explorer, shooting down Stanley Winston's Explorer. That was briefly in cover mode then, just to tank a bit of damage. Tiger nearby to distract as well. But the crack shot comes in from Minimoult and picks it up without any problem. Stanley, though, actually building a house instead of going for a TP in transition. I suppose if you need to go for a training post, you then still need to build that house on the other side, and may not have enough res to have done that. And, well, no, he's actually committed to a 16th villager here in the first age and delayed his age up somewhat, and aging up now at 3 minutes 10 feels slightly slow from Aztecs. I think a 15 vil here. You need to remember, you're playing Ottomans. It's not like the Ottomans have the greatest eco as well, so you can afford to kind of give up a little bit of your economy to catch up. But now having all your vils onto wood, if that house was never dropped down, Stanley would be building his training post right about now, but needs to wait for another 100 wood to get that TP in. And these are these very small, minute differences when you're playing a game of Age of Empires 3 online. When you pick up different treasures, you can adapt your playstyle in different ways and trying to play the map, play your opponent, and make the most of this opportunity. This villager going for the cheeky steal here on 65 coin, but did walk slightly away from that treasure and will not be getting that coin. Looks like, though, looking to possibly wall the choke. That is an option. But the Shaman age up here from Stanley is going to be probably placed in the middle, around about this location, to try and control the water, try and control the choke, and be as fully in your face as possible against Minimoult, who's now going to go for the classic in-base FF with this tower placed, as we so often do in this exact position, right next to the train post to cover, covering the choke, but getting a very good range over the entire sea. And I think a few ships in this quadrant of the lake can still survive, but I'm not expecting an Aztec player to be dropping war canoes in the third age. And looking at his deck, well, he has privateers, but he doesn't have the Talok canoes in the third age or the fourth age. These galleys, currently unchecked. He sent galleys instead of coin, second card. Oh, I do not like this. I get it. He's going to get down 1 warhus as well. You can actually get the second if his special attack. Special attack comes in, and both the warhuts go down. Oh my god, what is this? Damn, Minimoult, you're on fire today. Stanley's thinking, well, rip, what do I do now? And Minimoult, you don't need to age up fast if your opponent's not got any units because, well, they've lost their 2 warhuts. Over-gathering on the food drastically at the moment, though. Needs more coin. Could go for a market to sell us on that food. So he does have a few villagers on the coin, few on the wood. That early TP as well should provide enough experience to send a shipment. At this point, though, I would like to see 700 wood, 700 coin. It does come in. You will get 400 coin worth of coin to help you age up faster. And then the 300 coin afterwards can help you train Janissaries and that. So it's still a very valuable shipment. Currently has no infrastructure though behind this. And this play of galleys was risky. It's paid off so far, but it's still awkward for minimoult. He doesn't have any infrastructure behind this. Yes, Garger, it was a food start. Only 300 wood for the Ottoman player. No coin crates on the floor, so just the wood was available. And we saw the early galley shipment coming in for minimoult, but the fact that 700 coin came as his third card has slowed down minimoult considerably. At this point, minimoult may have wanted to go up with the fast age, but he's now actually aging up. Text being researched. Going up with the Admiral of the Ocean Sea, so going for another galley. 400 wood. A real smart play would be dropping a galley in the actual sea itself instead of the pond. Yes, you will have 3 galleys in the ponds, but this southern galley here can defend your own base, contest the middle, and put pressure on anything the Ottoman player wants to do in terms of the Aztec player wants to do in terms of water play or gathering on the coast, and that'll give you some really good line of sight as well. Coyote raid coming in, but all the villagers very close to their town centre, and will not be losing any units to this coyote mass. The 200 IQ coming out from Charles, and that was it was a pretty well, the fact was Stanley aged quite late as well. He went 16 vil instead of 15, and the shaman war huts currently take a little bit longer to build on the latest edition of the ESOC patch, and so minimoult just capitalise on that. We do see a third galley in the middle pond, a bit overkill, but that extra wood, very, very useful. It looks like Mini's looking to go for a second training post, and then maybe veteran janissaries from his in-base barracks. The delayed broadside attack comes in, does pick off a second coyote though, so about 8 to 10 coyotes did push out. Only 3 return though. Yeah, losing 6 coyotes for a bit of idle time versus Ottoman, who's already in the 3rd age. Not picking up a vil kill there. I have to say, minimoult's position at the moment is looking absolutely fantastic. Stanley though, deciding to go 700 wood, 600 wood, 5 vil, 3 warrior priests, and the reason he's done that, he knows he'd be so delayed if he wanted to go for aggressive base play. He's just decided to switch his tactics up completely and going to go for a slightly more economic focused and try and outplay the Ottoman player as the game progresses. But 3 galleys in the middle of the pond, it'd be hard for the Aztec player to push out. And actually, this could even buy time for minimoult to do a revolt strategy of himself. But it looks like he's going to be using the galley as a sea transport, probably the best transport in the game with their 10 speeds. These galleys are so fast. 3rd train post comes out. A couple of these janissaries are moving to the top side to siege down this single train post from Stanley Winston, and we may see Stagecoach coming behind us from minimoult. Okay, janissaries now going for that siege on the training post. However, unfortunately for these guys, quite a lot of coyote runners are nearby, and 10 maces were shipped as well. May take a bit of time to get onto these janissaries, but minimoult just realised how vulnerable these units are, and he's basically trying to retreat his way to the ships. But just imagine if if the Admiral of the Ocean Sea politician's galley was dropped in this pond or the Southern Sea, will give him an extra bit of versatility than what the 3 galleys in the middle offer. Second town centre for minimoult went 1,000 wood, 1,000 coin, and for a slow age up to the 2nd age, you could argue this is greedy from the Ottoman player. However, by taking down the 2 war huts from the Aztec player, you really know that the Aztec player's on the back foot in terms of tempo. And Stanley himself has also been very polite in going for 5 vil, 3 mace instead of units. So minimoult's 1,000 wood, 1,000 coin, unlikely to be punished. But how can the Aztec player really punish this? They need to essentially run around the entire top side of the map to get into the Ottoman player's base and bypass these 3 galleys, which just give him so much map control and also vision in the centre. Minimoult has good vision on this entire choke and this entire choke, so now with this town centre and train post top side, he has full line of sight vision of any unit crossing into his side of the map. So I'm not expecting Minimoult to lose another villager whatsoever this game to a raid. And well, home city water flag. What is coming in from Stanley Winston? Is Stanley actually thinking of sending the privateers? I think he is, but he may be at risk of losing one privateer due to the coastline and space limitations that this sea provides. Town centre, 3 galleys, very strong units as well. I think the privateers will eventually win, but will basically trade off these ships which have already done their work for, you know, ships costing 500 coin, not much use afterwards. Minimoult can then go for frigates to shore up his own mid-map control if he likes, to help control and defend these 2 trading posts. Hunting dogs for the upgrades for Stanley Winston. Still chopping a lot of wood behind this though to go for units in queue. Going for a double batch of Mace Sultans. Just going pure Mace Sultans, Coyotes. And at the moment there's no Hussars or Spahis out from the Ottoman player. Minimoult now pushing in with Janissaries, Falconets. Those Falconets really close to the galleys could help deal with those privateers. And the galleys are coming on top of that flag as well. I'm hoping that it's not privateers from Stanley Winston. He did send Coyote Combat at 10.5 minutes, so privateers could be in the way. Maybe just preemptively moving it. Right, fight coming in. Oh, the 3 privateers come in, but only 1 spawns! No! Janissaries holding the line versus the Coyotes. Falconets alive. Falconets fighting the Mace Holders behind. Coyotes going down. 1 privateer already gone down. Oh, rest in peace. And I called it. I said you have to be careful about the spawn locations of these ships. And oh, Minimoult with that galley play and those 2 early galleys even paying off later. Oh, that is so gutting if you're a fan of Stanley Winston and New World challenges. But just like other maps like New England, it's not a new phenomenon. This is a thing which has happened in Age of Empires for as long as the game has been out. For Age of Empires 3 as well. Stanley's saying there's plenty of room for the spawn there, but 3 galleys on flag. There were 3 galleys on flag. The coast right here. Coast down to the south as well. The space for Stanley Winston's privateers to spawn were very, very limited, and only getting 1 privateer out. He's saying that he's displeased with the fact that he's only got 1 privateer out, but unlucky. But yeah, you can't put your when you're spawning 1 frigate. I think you can get away with that. When you're spawning 2 caravels, you can just about get 2 caravels in there, but chances are 1 would despawn. The fact you're sending 3 ships take up so much space, you need to ensure that they can spawn for that to work off. But then these galleys backing up the Falconets. Falconets nicely in between the galleys for a defensive, you can garrison them in, but also supporting fire. Janissaries out front, just providing cover and fire for Mace Sultans. I think Stanley Winston deleted the Maces before the Resolution came in, but Minimoult 1 step ahead with the galley play. I have to say he's worked that timing out. I was a little concerned with his age up time being so slow and the Aztec player would be in his base, but the fact that there was no war huts, no units, Minimoult could have aged up behind this, and wow, 1,000 wood, 1,000 coin, even kind of going greedy with the 3 TP Stagecoach town centre behind this, but then still following up with a standard H3. Aztec player had so much time, but just couldn't defend that, and yeah, GG cord, and we'll head out to the next one. All resources gathered. Lots of this are crate eco from Minimoult, so it's a little bit exaggerated. Aztec had a fine eco behind this, but fine economy doesn't matter when you only have 1 privateer spawning and colonial units versus Vet Jan Falks. It's just not going to work, and it falls apart. Everyone in the chat going, only one privateer spawn. I did call it. I did say he has to watch out for that spawn location, and only one privateer came out. And Wicked Cossack he's a little upset that he's like, why are the Mandarin Duck squad so BM in this? But what can I say? It's just, sometimes that is the way the cookie crumbles. The next game is Kamchatka Summer, and the challengers will be the Mandarin Duck squad locking into this map. Well, is it a bug or a feature? That's a great question. I would say it's a feature because you can't spawn units on top of other units. And just imagine you're in a very small pond, and there's 3 boats already there, and there's only space for 3 boats. Like, literally, figuratively, only space for 3 boats. Just imagine, okay, in one of those top 4 ponds here, if that happened in one of the ponds, the fact that you can't then spawn the ships when they physically can't because they'll be on land. So I think there is a code which says if the obstruction radius, if they can't be placed within a certain radius around the home city flag, then do not spawn that unit, as kind of a fail-safe to prevent ships from spawning onto the land. And just imagine you can spawn frigateers on the land. That would be so ridiculously strong, but not that case. I think that's more of a fail-safe as a kind of like a feature to prevent other worse bugs occurring. But I guess from your point of view, there was water available far away from the flag, but you can still argue that there was potential for the ships to eventually spawn in a body of water where they could have spawned. But whether it's a bug or feature, both players know that it exists. There's been so many games that this has happened and has caught another top player out again. Looks like the next series is likely to be casted. I believe that Riot is available to be cast in the next stream, so I'll be looking forward to watching Riot. And the next series is in about 1 hour's time. That is the matchup between the Bigs, Ninja Ninjas, Conqueror 999 taking on For Justice. And For Justice has had a respectable series so far, even taken 2 games off Lacastet. Conqueror, though, has been on fire for the Bigs, been their most valued player, definitely. So, 2 players in good form, that should be a great series, and that is following up after this series is concluded. I suppose the other thing to note as well is the water flag mechanic. You can place that. You can place this home city shipment point anywhere on water, and I think that's probably where the developers felt like, okay, we don't need to kind of have this infinite spawn point as long as it's, if there's a place for it to spawn as close to the flag as possible, but do ensure spawn every time. There's also a similar land version as well. If you put a wall around an outpost and you send units to an outpost which physically can't spawn out because there's a wall there, then they just don't spawn, and it's basically waste a shipment. So, it happens on the land, happens on the sea, It's just something to think about. Minimoult picking the French on cam chats. Go Stanley Winston going for the Dutch, and I'm a massive Dutch fan myself. What can I say? In real life and in the game, but Dutch on a standard map. I feel French has the advantage here slightly. Right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 3 between the MDS and the NWCs. We're currently into game number 3. One apiece so far. Stanley Winston winning the first game. Minimoult coming back in the second with Ottoman on Dakar. But now we're into Kamchatka Summer. Wood crates. Coin crates starts. Oh yeah, of course it's not coin because it's Dutch. Wood crate start for both players. Both players having access to 2 cords of wood. Looks like Minimoult's extended explorer to the middle part of the map already. Try and pick up the goats, but Freitag, the pet macaque, is stealing these 2 goats just before the other Freitag can pick these goats up. Stanley needs to watch out though. One of his goats is at risk of being picked up, but no, does go back for that second goat. So good micro there. Minimoult though can't be too upset. He's managed to secure 2 goats from the centre as well. So the early goat war has gone relatively even for both players, and we did see Stanley Winston picking up a wood treasure here, but nearby. Nice wood treasure here. Looks like 80 wood, and Stanley Winston's seen it. He's just waiting for his crack shot. Envoy can be moved into tank. 200 HP. You know, you can start punching the tiger and let the explorer shoot from behind and protects your explorer's HP instead. But Freitag as well. 18 hand attack versus tigers. Very, very strong, and Stanley Winston should be able to pick up this 80 wood treasure. No problems. Minimoult going for the middle map trading post. Good scouting from the goats. He's got the scouts going from the Freitag, the goat. Another goat's walking its way back, but this goat looks to be pathing around the very edges of the map. Native scout as well pushing in. So good map knowledge available for Minimoult. He doesn't actually know where Stanley's explorer is just yet. You know, Stanley's picking up his own wood treasure, but Mini has scouted another wood treasure to the opposite side where Stanley is, so probably will be moving there straight after that trading post is built up, and the explorer's moving over, Freitag's moving over, and yeah, 85 wood going to Minimoult. Very, very nice. The wood for the Dutch player, very important, helps their bank in transition. You can see that Stanley has 200 wood in the bank account, and with other civs you're thinking, right, just build that trading post or build that market, just build it now. But Stanley saved those resources for a later point, even killing 2 goats early on just to get a nice age up time and ensure an idealist 15 vil age up time as well. The 15th vil just comes out, the age up is about to be thrown down, and with already 220 wood in the bank, Stanley Winston doesn't need to send too many villagers onto the tree, sends 6 to start chopping, starts to send 2 onto the coin, and I don't like that. You need to go pure food and wood before that bank's down. Once that bank is down, then go grab some coin. But I think Stanley thinks he's got so much wood anyway, he doesn't need to prioritize it. Ooh, 45 food treasure. It's just his bank's going to come so early. And I know that Stanley Winston is a good Dutch player. I've seen him play Dutch in the Winter Championship, and you don't have to be a great Dutch player to know that Stanley's in a great position at the moment. But he's not actually gathering the resources for the bank just yet. He's now still 20 wood short. He's now over-gathered on the food. Okay, now he's going for the coin, which is absolutely fine. That bank could have been down by now, but it's a little bit delayed. We'll throw it down though in still good time, and we'll have enough coin to get his first villager out in the second age. Quartermaster from Minimoult. Stanley Winston also got the quartermaster. Mini going for a second trading post, so 1 trading post down in the first stage, second being built in transition, market going down as well. A lot of wood is being chopped for this, mind you. Looking to get hunting dogs Could save the placer mines though and get placer mine steel traps on 700 wood shipments. Stagecoach on the 200 wood you get from the age up. So could even go placer mine steel traps and stagecoach on the age upwards, and then send 700 wood first to get your infrastructure down, then 4 CDB afterwards is an option. I'm expecting though minimoult might just play standard and go 4 CDB first and not go for stagecoach play. Stanley Winston moving more coin villagers off onto hunting. With 1 bank down, you only need 3 villagers to sustain production, but Stanley's already got like 200 coin in reserves. He doesn't need to be mining this much coin early if he's focusing for bank play, and that's exactly what he's been doing, especially with sending the 700 wood as your second card. This wood here, another bank, a market, a military production facility, and then a house, and maybe a market tech as well. But you're getting your infrastructure down on that 700 wood. And you don't need coin just yet. But it's going to go for a stable. So stable here before that 3rd bank. Looks like Stanley is prioritising the Hussars out instead of a fast bank economy. And yeah, should be okay. French player himself is also going for a stable play here. And go for CDB first. Let's have a quick look at Stanley's deck and see what Stanley's working with. He does have 700 food in his deck. Pikes, Hussars, double infantry upgrades. Nice stand set of cards for Age 2. Age 3, the 1000 food. I don't often have 1000 food in my deck. But you do gather lots of coin from all your banks, so maybe it's a smart decision to have a secondary source of food, because you always have a reliable income of coin. Double skirm, infantry combat. No 7 raiters, but has 9 raiter, 5 hussar, and the Swiss pikes make their appearance in the 3rd age. 4th age, 14 skirms, heavy cannons, 2 factories. 14 skirms are very, very strong. I think the French Civ only have a 12 skirm shipment in the 4th age. Dutch also have a 17 raiter as well in the 4th age, and that's a card I really like sending. 5 hussars coming in for an opening raid into Dutch player's base. Stanley does see this very early, but does have his own defensive 5 batch of hussars out to push away this hussar play from minimoult. And with 4 banks up behind this, with now going the bank afterwards and the bank wagon. Very nice play from Stanley Winston in a strong position at the moment. Still level 1 trading route for the French player. And actually got to go for the TP steal. This is some naughty play here from minimoult, stealing Stanley Winston's home trading post without him realising. The line of sight cuts out around about here, so doesn't actually have a vision on this trading post just yet. He will now, and he's thinking, "Oh, mate, what are you doing? That's my trading post." Pushing in with 5 Huss, but the situation hasn't changed for either player. Stanley's training even more Hussars. Reinforcing 3 for minimoult, so both players having 8 Hussars. Okay, Stanley has done the full batch of 5, so 10 in total. He also just sent 8 pikes though, so you know Stanley has the pikemen to deal with the Hussars and also the train post here. So Stanley Winston opting to send 8 pikes here instead of a shipment like 700 coin or 600 wood. And I feel actually it's a nice idea. He did have to buy some wood though for some housing. The population is a little bit tight when you send 8 pikes, but he's catching these Hussars. The Hussars are not fighting here, they're just running. Pikes are still sieging this training post. Stagecoach has come in, and Stanley Winston now has the ability to pick up his own Stagecoach TP in his own base. And we'll go, thank you very much, minimoult, for that. Musketeers, though, in this fight's hand, combating. I think Stanley just needs to back off here. He doesn't need to take the engagements. He's already had a good trade so far, but he's also up in eco relative to his opponent and is in a good position. Now it's sending 700 food to age up, and the food ensures he's got lots of coin to gather. Dutch gather coin faster with their villagers, as well as having 4 banks to get their age up in queue. I guess the food can help with a 5th bank in transition as well, but it doesn't really matter too much. I think Stanley will be happy with how his second age has gone down. He does have a goat available. Could have sent 600 wood instead. the disrespect from minimoult. He's going to try to throw down his training post on this once again, and I'm going to sink another 200 resources into this training post. Surely the last training post didn't pay off for itself, and going for another one here feels a bit risky. Stanley, soon to be in the next age, hasn't gone for the 5th bank, and that is actually a very respectable play. He needs just to stabilise in the 3rd age, get a batch of Reuters out. Probably sends 1,000 wood here though from Stanley Winston, because you're not under so much pressure. You go for Reuters, skirms, and then you get some wood to help with the 5th bank, housing, more military production, vet hussars. You know, the Dutch use that 1,000 wood shipment very, very efficiently. Stanley Winston currently not gathering any food, but soon to be on the hunts. 2 hussars going for a nice raid topside. Scouted out by his explorer, or his scout in cover stealth mode. Skirms out on top of the musketeers. These musketeers are getting picked off very, very quickly. A batch of 5 Reuters as well. Hussars catching the opponent's hussars and keeping this army pinned down. Skirm and Reuter going to reinforce and pick off these units as well. The raid is still happening on the right side though. Stanley Winston, no greatcoats and no units to help defend. Grouping his pikemen and Reuters together, it will take a little bit of time for him to reinforce. And the fact that he's lost villagers here, he's more musketeers, and 4 musketeers on villagers with no greatcoats is actually something to really consider. He's lost 6 vills so far, and that's more than he would have anticipated in total. Nine Reuter first from Stanley Winston, and he has the military advantage, and he really should be pushing out at this point. minimoult has only just recently reached the Fortress Age. No Fortress Age units out just yet. Lost a lot of hussars and musketeers. He's invested so much into this 3rd Age play, and this train post once again getting sieged down by these pikemen, and I just don't think that was worth it from minimoult, especially the 2nd time. It felt so risky. You just didn't really have a way to defend it once your initial push ran out and Stanley was in the 3rd Age. Now Reuters are just mopping up these musketeers. You can run minimoult, but you're not going to run too far behind this, and a quick death befalls those 3 musketeers. Another hussar raid, right side. Really good raiding from minimoult. Stanley Winston, not yet having the greatcoat, will lose another villager for his troubles. Another vill on low HP. minimoult straight onto it, checking the HP there, or HP bar. Very, very good play from me on top of his raiding game, and Stanley's lost 8 vills now. That is essentially the equivalent of Stanley Winston selecting 2 banks and pressing the delete key. That's how big it is. 8 skirms from Stanley Winston. minimoult open up with 2 falconets. Not a lot of units here to defend though. He does pick up Stanley's hussars, and I think all in all, the game has moved to more of an equal position. It was Stanley favoured, it's now equal. I still think Stanley is slightly in the edge here. Depends how much value he can squeeze out from those falconets, but I think it could have been a lot worse from minimoult how his 2nd Age went. But Reuters, there's so many Reuters, not enough skirms here to deal with this. These Reuters can go straight in onto the cannons. Won't go into hand combat though, still in the range attack. And if Stanley was in his hand combat, I think he could have one-shot those falconets and could have been out already, but taking lots of losses for his troubles though. That entire Reuter mass is just melted from Stanley Winston, and Reuters don't have a very good attack versus artillery, and they're so weak and squishy that these skirmishers and dragoons are just happy to mop them up behind this. Double rack so from minimoult, so we'll get some good skirmisher reinforcements. Doesn't need any more dragoons though. He's got enough dragoons as it is. And in terms of military units in total, Stanley Winston does have 24, but minimoult surely will be sending 8 skirmishers next card and training a batch from both his barrackses. Native scout for minimoult does see the position of Stanley's army, gets a feel for the skirm count, also can check his upgrades. No upgrades just yet. Skirm attack, Skirm HP, and Skirm combat all available. I was recently playing online in a team game or watching some person stream team games, and somebody actually sent Skirm attack instead of Skirm combat. And I was like, why? Why would you ever do that? It must be a misclick, or maybe thinking he's already sent Skirm combat. Vet Hussars though, from the 5 Hussar shipment, 5 trained, and then Vet Hussars coming in. This is a very easy switch the Dutch players can always pull with that 5 Hussar shipment as well. Could even go Cav combat if you're going to go Hussar Reuter behind this, but I think trying to overwhelm the Skirm count is your priority here, but so many Dragoons out from Minimoult. These Hussars have gone straight in first though, and I don't really like the Hussars going in first in this case. He's lost that Hussar push. That push was what you really needed to break the Skirm mass, and Minimoult sends in 8 skirmishers, has a really good army behind this, and getting better value from his units than what the Dutch player is currently. But though, 4 Hussars, right side. This is a big raid. This is this is quite big. He's actually causing a lot of idle time. Picked off 2 CDBs so far, but it's the idle time which is going to really hurt Mini for the meantime. Trading off skirms in the middle, but sends in Dragoons on top side to support and reinforce his CDBs. Waller coming top side. Minimoult is wanting to gather this coin and hunt in peace. Does not want some Dutch raiders coming to the top side to disrupt his eco there. Need to remember though, single train post stagecoach, another TP in the middle being thrown up. Recalculated economic population at the moment is equal due to the amount of villagers Stanley Winston has lost in his base due to Minimoult's great raiding so far in the game. Last time I checked, it was 8 villas and it still remains 8 villagers here. Mini did lose 3 CDB, but I think Stanley may have actually not trained a few villagers as well. He should still be ahead. Only has 4 banks at the moment. No real way to get a 5th bank without sending 1,000 wood. Skirms just standing off from each other. These villagers though, hunting out forwards, bit risky. Stanley Winston, still no greatcoats, and to be gathering with this many villagers out front of your base with lots of ranged units nearby, I think is on the verge of sloppiness, and Dragoon's going to move in, trying to pick up 1 unit there. Does pull the villagers back, but he's focusing on the Dragoons there. The skirmishers getting a good engagement on Stanley's skirmishers there, but he's now pushing forward with his Vet Hussars. Reuter's going first, but there's so many Dragoons here with good micro and kiting ability from Minimoult. This should be another excellent trade from the French player, I feel. Stanley Winston really needs his infantry combat here. He's just only seen pure Skirm Dragoon coming out from Minimoult. Minimoult has not yet gone for the QSS switch and doesn't plan on doing so. Another 10 Skirms in queue, 1 Dragoon to cover the Hussars. And if Stanley Winston gets his Skirm combat, he'll be able to trade much more effectively in these type of engagements than he is currently right now. The French player do not have access to Skirm combat. They only have their Skirm HP or Skirm attack. Hussars coming in, and this is now good in time for the Hussars pushing. Skirmishers are in range with the Dragoons and can punish Dragoons picking off the Hussars. Beforehand, Stanley was just rushing those Hussars first and just losing so many units before they've actually accomplished much. We need to consider Stanley Winston never sent in his 1,000 wood, never had the 5th bank down, doesn't have this free TP which has been stagecoached in south side. The extra eco is available for the Dutch player if he chooses to have it. Still raiding though, top side. Really nice from Stanley Winston, picking up another Vil, possibly 2. Let's check units lost. We'll lose 2 Hussars though, so it better be worth it, and it was. He picked off 3 CDBs, and was this wall not completed? Is there a gap this side of the wall? those are SARs getting some good value there. CDBs capturing this trading post. It's not an explorer, it's actually villagers building. Even a Minutemen pop here could be quite nice just to try and pick off these CDBs, but this, come on, surely you can punish this, Mini, but Stanley's pulling back his forces. Minimoult's pressing this eco right side. Villagers still no greatcoats available. Skirm's trying to reinforce. Skirm combat is now in though, so we should be getting some good military trades here, but losing more eco, idling more villagers, and now losing the train post down to the south. 3 Cuirassier shipment, more raids south side, no greatcoats, more villagers going down at this point. 15 vills from Stanley Winston, and Stanley's playing as the Dutch, a Civ, which typically have their resources in base last longer because they have the banks. Is losing more villagers than French. It's not what you'd expect. Oh, there's the 5th bank. Just some offshore banking here from Stanley Winston on the side of the map. I don't know how long it's been there. I want to say that was made about 3-4 minutes ago, so it has, it has helped out. No, actually, no, recently, because he lost more villagers, but pops back to equal levels. Right, Reuters chasing down 2 CDBs. CDBs tanking a lot of this damage from these Reuters. That just gives the green light for Minimoult to push in into Stanley's base at the moment, but up against Skirm combat skirmishers, quite tough to get anything meaningful done here. Maybe it's Minimoult who needs to go for the cav switch or go for some artillery. I feel trying to continuously trade off these skirmishers now is not in your interest. But another Cuirassier raid. Those Reuters have went to join the army, scouted out once again by the scouts and the skirmishers. Big raid though, more villagers going down. Currently 19 have gone down for Stanley. I think these Cuirassiers should just stay here, just try and make the most of it now. And the 24th villager from Stanley Winston has just gone down, and okay, that last villager, maybe not worth the 2 CDBs, but the entire notion of trading off those Cuirassiers there, the 3 of them, for about another 5 or 6 villagers. Stanley's eco is struggling now. 46 recalc to 37, not including the 3 TP stage line for Minimoult, which is still not being sieged by Stanley in base. Skirmishers, Dragoons engaging the Reuter. Not a great trade there for the Reuters, especially when you have all the army from the French player on half of your army as a Dutch. Pushing to the south, he knows that he's cut off any eco activity on the top side, so he's pushing the eco down to the south. More villagers exposed, no greatcoats here. Dragoons moving in, and will pick off villager, and maybe enough Dragoons here just to one-shot villagers, and one-shotting villagers as Dragoons. It's just, it feels so nice. Your units are so mobile, you can move in, pick the vills off, move back out again, and he can just run now. He's so far ahead in the eco, he just let the time play out in his favour. Even walling up his retreat, that is so smart as well. Right, it's time for Minimoult just to regroup his army, regroup his skirms, regroup his Dragoons, and 29 vills going down from Stanley Winston, and that's so frustrating. If you had 29 vills still out on the map, Stanley would be crushing this at this point, but it's not to be, unfortunately. Minimoult has more Dragoons than Dutch player has Reuters, going back onto these hunting vills, and more vills going down, and I'm not even too sure how many economic units Stanley has. He only has 12 villages. Rest in peace, Stanley Winston. Gathering up 1,000 food with his villagers in base, but he's just running out of safe resources and just doesn't have the military now to defend his eco. And That's what happens when you lose the eco early on. You just don't have that remass, and then you can't protect your villagers pushing out, and it's just a downward spiral to death at that point. Or resignation, if you're putting it more politely. Okay, Stanley Winston's pushing out with Hussars now. No cav combat just yet on these guys. Cav combat on the Dragoons, though, will pick off these Hussars very, very quickly, and they do fall down very, very quickly. And now it's just Skirms and Dragoons versus Reuters. No cav combat, and Skirmishers with the cav combat will get an alright trade, but when you're down in eco, you need more than this. You can't just trade off smaller army populations versus French. I'm hoping for a big cav switch here from minimoult into Cuirassiers. You have the Dragoon support available, but you're losing the Skirm fight because you just can't keep on fighting this fight. But you have the resources to go for Cuirassiers, but still going for Skirm, Dragoon. 10 Skirms have just popped out. It looks like CDB is going for a raid. Could even actually go for a Vil fight on the right side as well. That could be quite strong. CDB is much stronger than Stanley's villagers. But even just using his Dragoon mass just to overwhelm the skirmishers at this point. Arsenal down, ranged cavalry Caracol coming in. Nice upgrade for the Dragoons. Could have preserved the life of the Dragoons a little bit more to get the most benefit out of that, but the GG has been called. I believe the CDBs were hunting in the middle as well, so I think there's 2 hunts in the middle. I wasn't specifically checking, however, a brief glance looked that both players did have around about 3 to 4 hunts starting off, and both players did have the hunts top side. Was the number of hunts in the map the deciding factor of the game? No. Was Stanley Winston losing 8 Vils earlier on the Fortress Age deciding? Well, it helped, but then it just paved the way for the remaining villagers to go down there. Kamchatka, though, known for a very, very solid map spawn most times. Good villager production there from Stanley Winston, from minimoult as well. Stanley Winston, a bit of idle time. I did think he has a bit of idle time training in mid portion of the game, and that's as almost bad as just losing units to raids at the same time. So losing lots of settlers, not training as many as he could. And towards the end, he just didn't have natural resources. Okay, he didn't have the eco to fund the military to protect his natural resources. So it's that chain of events there which led to Stanley's downfall. But the all resources still really close. You'd think that the French player should be more ahead than he actually was, but I suppose at the end of the game it was about 34 to 39, so 5,000 resource difference, which at that point is noticeable. Also, idle villagers, not too much. Towards that middle portion, when the French players push into Dutch players' base, these idle villagers count for every time you move a villager, as well as just sitting around doing nothing. So it does account for villagers having to move across the map, villagers in town centres idle, villagers standing still on expired resources, and Stanley did have quite a lot of idle time here, where Mini's idle villagers seem to be very intermittent. Like, okay, looks like a coin mine finished here. Let's move on to another hunt, and oh, my coin mine's just run out. Let's move again. Okay, 29 idle vills briefly is pretty tough, but quickly recovered. It's the stagecoach. I wonder how the XP went for minimoult. It looks like he actually may have left some of his stagecoaches on experience as well. May have, when he built the second or third, just forgot to change that. Was ahead in the shipment progression, which you don't often see versus Dutch, especially when Dutch have their XP they get from their banks they make. But minimoult comfortably ahead in that progression, and then just eventually just better as well. Right, good game there. Currently, score right now is 2-1 to minimoult. Let us check to see what the next map in this map pool is. The fourth game between the Mandarin Squad and New World Challengers is Manchuria, and then we'll be finishing off on Bering Strait. So Manchuria now, Bering Strait afterwards. And I believe it's the New World Challengers to pick onto Manchuria, and that will be Stanley Winston to pick. Not much to say else. The next series, I'll just check Discord. Given that we've got time in between the series, I can have a little poke around and see what's being planned in the pipeworks afterwards. Looks like Wright is confirmed for a solo cast for the next series. Wright will then. Wright has even suggested he may want to stream after the series, so Wright is up for a evening of Age of Empires 3 action. So big ups to Wright for that, giving up his time to cast and play for us, which will be entertaining. Tomorrow we have a big series, 16th, Jay Muno versus Izad. Early on in the day, King of Osmane versus, is that Sam Wise or Soldier? I will check the schedule. King of Osmane taking on, where is King in this? What team is? King of Osmane taking on Soldier. So that's that matchup there, and the only Bows taking on Dennis as well. So 3 games tomorrow, and also tomorrow's 16th of May, and there's something very special about the 16th of May. It's my birthday tomorrow. I'll be 25. So who knows? I may have a birthday cast. I might get some bit of cake going, get some party blowers. Might sing myself a happy birthday because, you know, still in that quarantine. It's not exactly much else I can really do. Technically I can go out the house and meet one other person from one other household, but that's not much of a birthday party having 2 people. But it would be nice just to chill out and watch some series tomorrow instead of doing the legwork for that. So I'll check and see what's going on for tomorrow in terms of the stream inside. So, next series in half an hour's time, Conqueror 999 taking on Full Justice, casted by Riot. Tomorrow at 12 GMT, Jerry Muno versus Izad. 18 GMT, King of Osmane versus Soldier. That's going to be a massive series. I'm excited for that one. And the Only Bows taking on Dennis at 19 GMT tomorrow. So that's the series on the nearby horizons coming up. Still really waiting to see what these players are doing. Looks like Stanley Winston has gone French on Manchuria. We did see yesterday the match between Maito and Diaruga. Maito picked the French on this game, but Diaruga, swift counter pick with the Aztecs. Maybe that knowledge has funneled down, and I don't know. It was Diaruga picked Aztec on this map, and French was the counter pick. But Stanley Winston French on this map. Minimoult himself could go Aztec. I'm not too sure if Minimoult's an Aztec player. You know, it is a Civ reset. Brit could be an option. It's an alright Brit map. It's not great. It's alright. We'll have to see what Minimoult wants to play.
Yes.
Thank you for the happy birthday there, Brown Boy. But my birthday is actually tomorrow. We could have a long birthday weekend. Who knows? I could even post my address so you can send me some good gifts. But if I just imagine if I actually posting my address online, the amount of random crap I'm gonna receive on my doorstep. I'm like, oh, what does Well High sent me? Oh, ZD Flower sent me a lovely gift. Oh, hang on a minute. Here's a present coming in from Mr. Brownboy. Do I even want to open this? Probably not. Thank you for the nice words there, Marito TC. Commentator Clutch as well. The happy birthday, but it is tomorrow. Right, Coke with the hi. Oh, Minimoult's going for Dutch. Reverse matchup. Let's go. Now, will we see Stanley Winston raising Minimoult to death and picking off 30 villagers? We'll have to find out. Right, welcome back, guys. Game 4 on Manchuria between Minimoult, Stanley Winston. Minimoult currently 2-1 up versus Stanley Winston. He's currently asking for 1 second, but that gives me enough time to check the map. 1, 2, 3. These are neutral. 1, 2, 3. Double neutral. Yeah, map's pretty good. 4 coin mines in the center as well. That's not often you see that on Manchuria. All of them are silver mines, it looks like. And is that gold to the top side? No, it's silver top side. Yeah, so I'm happy with the map balance. Probably favouring.
Are you ready?
Well, no, that's an extra hunt for Stanley, but it's quite far away from his town centre, so we'll just take it as it is and play on from that. Oh, hang on a minute, that is actually starting. Right, let me have another quick look at this before we really get on. So that's starting. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Mirror, extra, probably could walk left if he's happy. I mean, these two are somewhat mirrored, so yeah, no, it is happy with the map balance. 2-1 Minimoult versus Stanley. We haven't reverse matchup. Last game, it was French versus the Dutch, but Minimoult was playing as the French, Stanley Winston playing as the Dutch, and we did see some standard build orders from both players. Stanley Winston, though, did go for 8 pike, 700 foods to age up, instead of sending a 700 coin or a 600 wood and going for a kind of a greedy FF, or greedy semi-FF, and not trained too many units. Both players trained many hussars in the second age, even French player going musketeers, Dutch player going for pikemen. So interesting to see if we have that same kind of reverse play here of both players using each other's strategies. The 8 pikeman shipment worked really well, but I feel that 8 pikemen here from the Dutch would be quite hard. The trading post line from the French player is so far away from your base. It'd be very hard to try and siege down with the pikemen. The pikes do very well versus the hussars, I guess. But Minimoult, early market here as the Dutch, and unless he's getting treasures, which he has, a 40 wood for himself, and did pick up 75 food, quite nice. But I'm not excited by seeing the Dutch player go for an early market here, and it does give you lots of, well, it gives you the early hunting dogs, and the Dutch gathers so much food during their transition because they usually send their wood crates. This, though, slows down your bank so much because you still have to gather 350 wood in transition, which isn't benefited by your market upgrades. It could go gang sword, but then you're just spending more resources on resources, which is not a bank. And I actually think it's better just to skip the market at this point and just go for that earlier bank. We saw that Stanley had the bank up about 10-15 seconds before he even aged. Minimoult could even go for an earlier bank. He's getting such a nice wood treasure here, and it was a wood crate start for both players. Also, 8 yaks. Very, very strong here for Minimoult. Stanley working his way on his own big wood treasure. So Stanley Winston already picking up 85 wood here, going for the second big treasure. Minimoult 40 wood himself, but will pick up his own treasure, so 90 wood apiece. Stanley Winston slightly edging out the early age 1 treasures, but yeah, Minimoult did get the 75 food as well, so helping that age up a little bit. Does have many, many yaks to eat as well if he wants to try and get this first bank up in a much faster time. But with this hunting dogs upgrade as well, his food eco is pretty strong. And the fact that he got those 2 wood treasures means that the Dutch player is currently on course for a normal bank timing, and it won't be too delayed. Stanley herding in 2 nearby hunts as well, getting on top of that herding early on. He doesn't want a repeat of last game of losing many, many vills. Maybe this game he might get the great coats. He never got the great coats last game and he lost 30 vills, so maybe we'll see the great coats this game. We'll have to see if this is in the pro player's book. 55 coin treasure though, very, very nice for the French player to crack shot. Will help with hunting dogs afterwards. Already got placer mines. Hunting dogs queued up straight away afterwards and have enough wood and a bit to go for the steel traps. And we'll probably see villagers splitting off now from the trees onto the food and coin as we do. And yes, looks like queuing up enough wood for the steel traps. Also, second train post going down and about to age up with 400 wood. I'm expecting Stanley to go maybe 2 houses and stagecoach, honestly. Stagecoach early on will be very nice on this map, I think, but only two training posts. It's not the biggest stagecoach in the world going. Right, Minimoult, colonial age. Does he have a unit in queue behind this? Did he get his macro on? Yep, he has 1 vill in the queue already, and the bank is up, so it's been pretty decent. Herding in another one of these C-roll hunts, but so many yaks. Could go livestock pen on the 700 wood, but you don't have to go for an early livestock pen. Maybe 700 wood, bank wagon 600 wood, and get the livestock on the 600 wood. But it depends how much. It depends how many units you want to train in the second age. Really, when you want to get that. Oh no, he's not eating the axe with 1 vill, is he? That's such a waste of food. Because you do have good income with the yaks, but the residue food also decays quite fast. So right, Stanley Winston, mid-map stable, not proxy stable, just in your face mid-map. So we're making hussars and trying to reduce on that walking time between his base and Minimoults. I would have preferred to see a stable probably down to the south here, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, stable, barracks. I'm going to play a bit of colonial, it looks like. Not enough evidence to say whether he's going to stay in colonial for super long. Does have the house down. And let's go for shipment sense just to check his card order. And he did open up with 700 wood. 700 wood. Surely he should be getting the stagecoach on top of that 700 wood as well. Looks like Minimoult just ate those 2 yaks and went back to hunting. So didn't eat all of these guys, but I don't think he got too much benefit out of eating those 2 yaks at that point. It wasn't enough food from the yaks to make that, wow, I got this big yak income really benefit his position at the moment. But at the moment, no. On track to get his full 5 hussar batch. Needs to throw down another house though. And where's this extra wood come from? I wonder how much wood he's actually chopped at this point, because usually it's quite tough to get. Oh no, because he had the market down from age 1 and hunting dogs, so wood left over from the 700 wood shipment to get easy easy house down without having to chop or buy, and that's helped him get a big batch of 5 hus as well. So the early market is starting to come back into the game now and helping that benefit. But if you didn't go early market, you'd have the market now and research hunting dogs. So you get to the same destination in 2 different ways. Mini had scouted the hussars out in the field, but probably is not aware of the barracks though. The barracks will come as a little bit of shock to him. and seeing 5 muskets run into your base, you can deal with the 5 hussars quite easy. They just trade off with your 5 hussars. You know, 5 is equal to 5, so it should be an equal trade. Town centre fire as well. Minutemen, but another reinforced batch of hussars, and now the muskets approaching. Mini needs to basically either fight with a few vills getting town centre, call Minutemen, 5 hussars out. Minutemen being called. Okay, this is gonna be good for minimoult here. Town centre fire and Minutemen doing some good damage in the back. Could try and trade off a few villagers as well, but the fact that Stanley Winston sent a 3 hussar shipment, great, but it's so far away from where the action is at the moment. He's just lost so many units, and the Minutemen are still firing, and looking at the units lost, this is going to be brutal. 7 hussars, 5 musketeers for 5 hussars of minimoult, idle time, and the Minutemen called, but Stanley pushing in with even more hussars here. Minimoult has a shipment, and I think he's just sent the pikes, but I can't be sure. Yeah, no, he has sent the pikes, so pikemen on the way afterwards. Garrison the vills, maybe try and run the hussars, but they are snared at the moment. But pikes should be enough to clean up, and Stanley's probably thinking, oh, okay, I've got the advantage now, I can follow up with even more hussars and musketeers, but another patch of huss coming out from minimoult. Try to keep these guys away from the action a little bit longer, but that's Waypoint's going to move on to these hussars very soon, and those pikemen will soon be on the field. Maybe even pikes just to snare the muskets and hussars to do the damage from behind. Yeah, there you go, the pikemen runs off the musketeers. 3 reinforcing muskets are not going to be enough. Town centre fire as well. Minimoult's in a great position. He has these yaks now up to 190 food, and this would be a good time to eat these yaks. And I would agree with him eating the yaks with maybe 6, 7, 8 vills of his eco, just to try and help gather their age up behind this at a respectable time. Leaving his Minutemen behind just because it was slowing down his army. 5 skirms being trained, and is Minimoult thinking of trying to push out? He does have the pikemen available, and I suppose, you know, military not doing anything is wasted military. I'd been happy with Mini's position and aging behind us, but Stanley is aging himself, so Mini has identified he has a window to push himself, and he's currently training a hussar and skirm as well, so he's having to wait for a 700 food shipment himself to get the age up. 700 food as well as eating the yaks. Feels a little bit overkill. He's only gathering the food up with 1 vill as well. That is a definite dislike. I want to see at least 5 do that, because then you can get those resources better. Okay, Minimoult's 5 skirms, and he's probably going to put so many into hussars as well. Nearly out of pop though. Okay, he's cancelled the huss batch, but he's got another 5 skirms out. His age up's going to feel somewhat delayed here. Right, skirms hoping to pick off as many of these musketeers while they can, and before retreating. These veteran skirmishers, 144 HP, 18 range attack, much stronger than 120 and 15, and compared to the base stats, that is a 20% increase. So, plus 20% on those base colonial stats, the 3 extra range attack and the 24 HP is noticeable. So, Minimoult backing off, waiting to get the age up in, also take his skirms, maybe go for a few rotors as well, and play us out in the next age. Still 4 banks here for Minimoult, as a result of throwing down some barracks with the 600 wood there. Probably want to think about sending 1,000 wood at some point, because you have so much eco here to pump units from the barracks and the stables for right to skirm. Stanley Winston, first card, 8 skirmishers moving across the map, and he's got a bit of a skirm army here.
Ik ben gewond. Ik kan me niet bewegen.
More muskets going down. Okay, Hussar's still on the side, not being engaged just yet. I like that. This is a pure skirm army here from the French player. Where's his reinforcing dragoons? 5 more skirms here. Okay, only 5 dragoons coming out across the map for Stanley Winston, and 5 dragoons are easily picked off by his skirm fire here. You have to be careful to see what's going on. Okay, Reuter batch. Mini should have a shipment coming in very, very soon as well at this point. Let's see what that first shipment's going to be. Only has one barracks though, so only 5 skirmishers at a time. And you know what? Stanley's himself is not in a too bad position. I thought he was in a worse position than he actually is, but no. The French eco behind this with the stagecoach, and those pikes trying to go for sieging on the stagecoach, but the skirms are here just to clean them up, and that's the problem with why that stagecoach is so far away. It's so hard to deal with, and those pikes could be quite nice just to, you know, try and defend, or just trying to go on to dragoons and say to the French army, right, shoot my pikemen instead of my Reuters and skirms, and basically protects his skirmisher line a little bit longer. But extra military units going down for minimoult here feels bad. The lag spike there. Game almost froze for a second. That's a bit of a unfortunate, but we seem to be back resuming. More reinforcing skirmishers and Reuters, but still only on the single barracks and the single stable, while Stanley's massing off 2 barracks. I think this is actually... This is what minimoult was massing off 2 barracks on the French game, and this is what Stanley's doing now this game. And I think the 2 barracks really does help French keep their advantage. The Dutch player really should be thinking about going for his own second barracks here. I suppose it's quite hard to get the wood if you're not sending 1,000 wood yourself. He could be sending 1,000 wood now at this point. He does have an opportunity. Also, skirm combat is a possibility. But now the 1,000 wood comes in. We'll get a stable wagon though. Stable wagon's quite nice. Stanley knows where this is, so I think minimoult basically needs to build it nearby, and yeah, he's going to build it just behind this army, but still forward. 1,000 wood coming behind. Hopefully second barracks, some more housings, very nice. Maybe another bank. Steel traps has been researched. No placer mines yet. Big tech to get for the Dutch, because it does scale off their base gathering rate. So normal villagers gather coin at 0.5 coin per second. No, 0.6 coin per second. Dutch villas gather at 0.66 coin per second, and then the placer mines scales off that. So it's even better tech for the Dutch. Minimoult raiding these 4 hussars, but they're currently sat idle on the right side, waiting for any villagers coming across. But the entire French eco is on the north side. Those hussars will be waiting for a while, it seems. Could also go for an artillery foundry at this point. But it looks like minimoult's gone for banks and houses. Was that second barracks dropped? Barracks was never dropped at this point. Just a second stable. And let's see what he has in queue. This could be a hussar switch time. But no, 2 Reuters, 1 skirm. And looks like he's just going to need all that coin he can to get a big batch of Reuters and skirms out. He has the food available for both of them, but he needs a lot of coin. Reuters, very, very coin heavy. Bit of peace time in between these 2 players. I think minimoult can see a couple of these skirms and dragoons just sat there. I'm sure Stanley Winston can see the stable, but doesn't want to push. And both players are just waiting for reinforcements. Stanley Winston, 3 cuirassier card, as well as 5 cuirassiers already trained, and 6 cuirassiers in queue. So 1 stable at full capacity. I don't think he has a second stable, but we'll soon have lots of skirmishers. But the engagement's happened already, and those cuirassiers are not on the field just yet. 6 still in queue from Stanley Winston. That's a huge amount of resources. That's 1,800 resources not in the fight at the moment. But the fight comes in though. Reuters going onto the Falconets, taking them down with ranged damage very, very quickly though. Dragoons to reinforce. A couple of villagers nearby tanking as well. Only 1 going down. This settler escaping with tower HP would have gone down without the greatcoats, but managed to save it. For the Dutch, 75 food for greatcoats, but saving 100 coin worth of settler. That is such a great trade there. Is Stanley? I think Stanley's waiting for a cav combat time in here. He's got so many dragoons and so many cuirassiers out on the map. 6 cuirassiers are still being trained. That batch hasn't been completed just yet. Nearly about to pop out here. Looking to see an Arsenal come down. Arsenal being thrown down by the French. Also, Arsenal coming down from minimoult as well. So both players looking to tech their armies with their respective Arsenal techs. Minimoult probably going for the ranged cavalry, Caracol, Stanley for the cavalry cuirassiers, and we'll see how those techs benefit their armies. Coin is starting to become an issue though for the French player. Only 100 coin remaining in this mine. He does have amalgamation research on these villages as well, so he's burning through the coin mines as if they're nothing. This map had 4 silver mines in the central portion of the map, and even this silver mine here was mined by, I think it was minimoult by quite a bit, but now moving on to his safe defensive back coin mine. Also 150 coin treasure is nice at any point in the game, but it feels very nice here. Skirm combat, cav combat in for minimoult at this point. And Stanley Winston, okay, cav combat is in now. Another 5 cuirassiers being trained. No skirm's been trained though. Like, he does have spare resources. This could be the go time for him if he actually really wants to try and make something. But oh, there's so many Reuters here now for minimoult. This is going to be a big engagement. I don't know how this is going to go. These dragoons need to essentially work overtime to take down the Reuter mass, but the positioning, the trees, the houses, the choke points, the cuirassiers, they've just ran back, and oh my god, there's so many units going down there for Stanley Winston. Oh, that's so painful to see, and that there is basically deleting, I don't know, 2,400 resources. I saw at least 8 plus 30s going down there. Units lost in total. 8 cuirassiers they're going down, and wow, beforehand it looked even, but the fact that Stanley went in there, and I feel when you're going for a cav switch like this, you need to go skirm first, just to tank, close the distance down, and then reinforce the cuirassiers. But a great position in there from minimoult up against Stanley's houses, the trees. Villagers coming into mine. Okay, villagers tanking. This sure is go time for Stanley. You can't just let this go on, but big raid south? No, it's actually minimoult raiding with those 4 hussars. That is epic, that is. Stanley's in trouble now. He's in big trouble. Could get a big raid on this mine with his cuirassiers, but he's still got nothing to do with the Reuter mass. Cav combat and ranged cavalry Caracol. These guys do 20 range damage per shot. There's so many of them. No wonder the cuirassiers went down so fast. And if anything, the cav HP is so insignificant compared to the ranged cavalry Caracol. Okay, though, engaging all the skirmishers with his Reuters. Don't get over complacent here, minimoult. Wait for your skirmishers to reinforce. Now kite back away from the cuirassiers. He's got so many units though. He's just got so much. He knows he's got the advantage and just push in. Infantry attack for his skirmishers behind, so sending in 3 upgrade cards in a row. Really nice play. 22 range attack. Okay, cuirassiers flanking left side. Reuters need to move. These Reuters are tanking so much damage from the skirmisher fire. Not really enough skirmishers here from Stanley to really scare minimoult, and the GG is being called, and minimoult up 3-2. Stanley Winston with the quadruple GG there, and I thought it was a good game. I didn't think it was an epic game, but I certainly was a close game, and Stanley Winston pushing in with that early aggression. 700 wood first to get the stagecoach, and double military buildings in the centre of the map. 4 CDBs just to follow up as you would do, but training big batches of hussars and musketeers. Even sent 3 hussars, but minimoult timed it with a 10 hussar defensive play, and minutemen was enough to hold out very, very well, and I think minimoult had the advantage then, but had to play solidly in the third age to... It felt like the French had some sort of mini window early age 3, but then the Dutch player, that 5th bank came in after the 1,000 woods, houses, more military production. That stable wagon was very nice as well, and was just able to mass so many more units, and then took a very positive fight afterwards. Yeah, that previous fight, Stanley's population 120 going down to 100, and 120 military population is just so much. It's just such a high number, but just falls away basically for nothing. And then once the engagement again happens for a second time, another 8 cuirassiers could have made a difference, which he didn't if he didn't lose last time. But nah, Minimoult just had enough upgrades on his units and making sure he had both the cavalry combat and the ranged cavalry caracol there. Very, very strong. But yeah, good defense here from Minimoult. Just see how Stanley's army just falls apart, and that's the 8 pike shipment. But even beforehand, Minutemen coming out and then the Hussars as well was just enough to really pick apart Stanley's army in the second age. And surely I thought Minimoult was in the lead there, but Stanley, good age up time behind that. Stagecoach had an alright economy and was still ahead though, because Minimoult was idled, and it wasn't just the 10 vills in TC, it was probably like 18, 20, so that's why Stanley was ahead in early age 3, but as the game went on, it went back into Minimoult's favour. Minimoult had 8 yaks, remember, as well, so really good age 1 for Minimoult. I still dislike the age 1 market though, I have to say that from a Dutch point of view. I think that earlier bank can just help so much, because then you just have those you can just have those vills which were gathering for that bank just go straight back onto food and a little bit of coin for the villager production, but then you'll have so much more food when that 700 wood comes in. You can easily throw down your banks, easily afford that 5 hussar shipments, and that's the way I think the Dutch are best played. The final map is Bering Strait between Stanley Winston and Minimoult. Straight after this series, I'll be handing over the stream to Riot. Riot will be casting this series between Conqueror 999 from the Hudson Bay Bigs taking on For Justice from the Nilla Ninjas. So stick around after that to go and check that out. Minimoult going for the French lock, so we've seen so many French games so far this series, but it looks like both these 2 players have very, very similar map and civilization picks. We did see, oh, what was game 1? It was on High Plains. You know what? I don't actually remember. That long ago. Spain. Stanley was playing Spain, I think. Minimoult maybe playing French then. I'm gonna go Spain-French on that map. Ottoman Aztec game 2, then 2 Dutch-French mirrors. Now Minimoult going French for game 5. Stanley, don't go Dutch, please. I'm not too sure I could do a Dutch-French game for the 3rd time in a row. The reverse. It's actually a solid Dutch map though, really. There's not... Right, Stanley having a nice chat with Minimoult about that big engagement. Well, the engagement which was not meant to be, where Stanley pushed in with his Cav combat cuirassiers, but 8 dropped before anything actually even happened, and then Stanley was like decided to back out, and then by backing out as well, losing a couple and just losing 2.4k resources for essentially nothing. Just such a big blow to his chances then. While these two guys are busy chatting, I will take a very quick break. But I'm hoping that Stanley would have a picked a sieve by the time this comes in. Right, yeah, back. Right, I am back. Looks like Stanley Winston's still on the French, taking his time. I need a 3-minute break to wash my car so he can calm down. Tensions are rising. Yeah, it's these two teams playing off each other, and I believe it's the Mandarin Duck squad needs 15 wins to go to the playoffs, and currently 3-1 up in this series. Maito 3-2 versus Diaruga. It's kind of close, and oh no, was that it? I need to, luckily I'm in the lobby to sort that out. But let's open stream labels just to see which cheeky chap that was, given my personal channel a follow. The thing is, I'm on the scene where like I've got no alerts on this scene, but other scenes have it, and it's just not transferring. Like I've told OBS to not come up with those announcements just here, but it still is. But that was JR Regan following my personal channel, so cheers for that one, mate. I might. There's so many games on the EPL coming up, so I don't think I'll be streaming on my personal channel for a little bit. Riot is suggesting he's going to stream tonight, so also check him out as well tonight. I swear I turned all of them off. How's that even come through? Oh, I need to do that elsewhere. I've got time. Yeah, no, it's all off. Oh well. It is what it is, and let's get us back into this lobby. And Stanley Winston has now washed his car. Minimoult's off to learn the piano as well.
Are you ready?
Right, China being picked finally. Let's go. Come on, guys. I haven't got all day. Conqueror's waiting for his series to be cast afterwards. Like, come on, chop, chop, move, move. What is this? I don't want to be starting to hand out unofficial warnings to players for taking their ages in the lobby.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
You are the biggest fucking wanker on this game.
Low, I should probably not. Don't use that taunt. Nine.
Green up! Green up!
Come on, Mini. What is this? Right, finally. Finally, we're into game. Game number 5. No, Regan. No, it's not your issue. It's Obs not doing it as you'd assume it would do. But nah, I'm always up for support. But finally, game 5 is starting between Stanley Winston and minimoult. Stanley Winston playing for the New World Challengers. Currently 1-3 down versus minimoult. minimoult having a great series so far. Hoping that continues for him into this final game on a bearing straight. We do see a food crate start coming up for both players here. That seems to be a fast shooting explorer. Maybe in the crack shots coming down on one of the dude with the pet monkeys, because you do need to kill 2 monkeys to pick up that treasure. Musketeer being killed as well. House going down. Looks like minimoult just go for a 13-10 age up as the French civilization. Stanley Winston playing as the Chinese civilization. Also will be struggling greatly with the only having a food crate in base, no coin, no extra wood available, and so have to chop quite a lot of wood, as well as hope for a few good wood treasures. Does pick up 40 wood. He doesn't scout. There's a 40 wood down here, but he has worked out this pirate map. 2 snow monkeys, and in this case, when you're looking for a wood treasure, it's a great find to have. That way you can stop chopping for wood and actually find the wood on the floor and start gathering up more and more food from the hunts in base. $45 coin. 80 wood top right. But if he's going to go for this wood treasure though, how on earth is he going to build a training post? Is he going to try and steal minimoult's training post? Be risky. Like, there is no minimum distance at the moment, but that is very, very close. We're going to walk across the entire map again to drop it in base. It's I may have preferred the 40 wood here than build it in base, but either or doesn't matter. Stanley Winston though still chopping wood in base though. I don't like that. You know you're going to get this treasure. Or you're going to try and get this treasure. Chopping more wood back at base, that feels frustrating in terms of your age 1 macro. 80 wood being picked up there. Minimoult does find 40 wood down to the south, and the remaining treasures are a nice 95 woods down just below the training post as well. 40 wood near his base as well. I guess he's saving the wood near in base so he can gather that wood during transition and maybe go for a market in transition. That'd be quite nice. He's gone for a second village though instead, and second village with the northern refugees. I want to say Stanley got both those villages out. It may have been tight though for the village, for the second village to come out. May have been really tight indeed. As in close, but that he may have not got the 3 settlers and had to sit with the 2 settlers, shall I say. Right, Minimoult aging up with, well, soon to be aging up with 14 villas it looks like. Now the age up in queue, so he went for the 14 villa age up and started chopping wood already. Market coming down, a couple of villas gathering the coin as you do. Stanley going for this 2 white treasure tiger, but Minimoult's nearby. He knows this treasure here, and even with Duba the pet monkey, I think Duba is not as strong versus Van the Disciple, but Minimoult coming in, crack shot available, stealing 95 wood treasure, and normally I'd say that's a treasure contention, but nope, that wasn't even close. Minimoult just came in, stole it right under the nose of Stanley Winston, and that is going to really help Minimoult get his TP in transition, as well as reduce the amount of wood needed to chop for market techs, hunting dogs, placer mines, and steel traps. Oh dear, Stanley having chopped with 8 vills now. I think Stanley was hoping for that treasure to go on and go for a TP himself, but we'll have to make do with a 40 wood treasure. And so we'll stop chopping wood about now. We'll have this 200 so he can go for his own trading post. But maybe because it's so late, do you just go market instead at this point? It looks like I think the trading post still works to help your age 3, but it feels awkward now. Hopefully this chopping wood doesn't delay Stanley's age up time to the 3rd age too slow. But it will depend on when his coin crate shipment arrives. This goat though, chilling at the town centre, enjoying his day out away from being at home. Goats fatten when they're tasked onto the village/livestock pen, so this goat never found its way onto the village, and that's a bit of a shame because that's just extra food on that goat we're missing out on there for Stanley Winston, and every little helps. Even pulling the villager to punch down Duba the pet monkey. Stanley has so much HP at this point, could try and punch off himself, but I guess he doesn't know where that TP Travois is, so he just wants to ensure that that train post is up and built already. Forward barracks from Minimoult, 4 CDB coming in behind this. That barracks could be a bit more forward if he wanted to go aggressive in the second age. I feel like Minimoult could just force CDB 700 wood naked FF behind this and still be in a really great spot. Does have steel traps and placer mines. A decent timing on his trading post as well. It's not like the Chinese player is making too many units, but they have units available. They have the monk, disciples, both Minutemen batches, the pikes and the rifles, as well as the old Han army batch from the Summer Palace, which should be spawning in about a minute's time. So there's possible for Stanley Winston to get lots of units out, and now with that training post as well, could have the ability to send 8 Chukunus in this age to kind of stabilize before going to the next age. But looking at his villager pop and looking at his shipment count, 700 wood from Stanley is most likely being sent right about now. Quick check the decks, and Stanley has good faith agreements in the first age. Interesting. Usual shipments age 2, age 3 looks pretty standard. It has the 4 iron flails though. No Manchu support this deck. No repelling volley as well, and I disagree with not having repelling volley. You don't need 1,000 wood, 1,000 coin, but maybe he's got the 1,000 wood because he knew he was going for Confucian Academy. But Musketeers coming in. Nice timing of Musketeers though. This Wander, I guess it's good. It's close to the village and town centre for garrisoning, but he's going to idle all his villas building this Wander, and it will take Stanley a long time to get to the fortress stage now. This monk cover mode trying to tank up as much damage as possible. given the villagers enough time to try and build up a wonder, but this is awkward to say the least.
的伤势沉重，看来轮回离我不远了。
I feel that Stanley needs his rifle minutes just to try and push away the musketeers from these villagers aging up. Okay, the train post is going down, don't worry about that, but don't lose villagers, and don't be fully idled off the wonder. And is a batch coming out from the summer pass very, very soon? It feels like it should be out any second now, but remember that age up to the second age was from Stanley Winston was also delayed, it felt like, so probably not. This every second counts in tight situations like this, and I think minimoult has just got the edge from his 10 musketeer play, and no Minutemen have been called yet from Stanley Winston, and just it seems like a lack of ambition, a lack of wanting to spend resources on your Minutemen to try and defend this. But you have lost units, you've lost time, you've lost Stanley Winston now aging up at 8 minutes, and from all accounts, possibly a minute after slower than a very fast FF would be. Duck donating $50. You guys want to learn how to launder money? Watch this. I give $50 to ESOC, and 2 weeks later, it's back in my bank account. Nice taunt there. Duck, one of the players, or should I say, the manager of the Mandarin Duck squad. That's where the Duckies get their name, as well as the shipment, the Chinese shipment they have, and very hopeful for his team and minimoult going to be pulling out the results, reach the playoffs, and maybe secure the first prize place as well. That'd be very, very nice for Duck. But if, in the meantime, if it does not work out that way, you do not reach the prize money, thank you for that donation instead, though. Right, 11 Changdao, first card out for China. Nice shipment here. It's good synergy with the age-up skirmisher muscle. So you only got only 7 skirms now remaining, but these skirmishers very, very weak compared to the French skirms as well. So these French skirmishers getting a really great trade here, mainly versus the Keshiks, the pikemen, the Changdaos. These skirmishers absolutely demolish everything here, and a first shipment of 8 skirms from minimoult. Couldn't ask for a better shipment here. Hopefully, he's got cuirassiers on the way as well. I like that. I was thinking maybe 5 dragoons just to cover likely China cav batches and keep your skirms protected, but going cuirassiers instead, and no scout knowledge on the cuirassiers. That monk with so much HP already going down. It feels like Stanley's tools are being taken away from him one by one. It's just is only left with 1 arm and 1 leg to fight with. Skirmishers on top of Stanley's Vils. 2 Vils instantly getting picked off there. Vils running to the north, but here comes the cuirassier raid on the north side. Stanley Winston sees it just about now, and minimoult's thinking, oh nice, what do we find here? Nothing to deal with these skirmishers from Stanley, and 5 meteor hammers come out, but there's 4 cuirassiers here. The skirmishers can try and focus down these units one by one. And okay, there's the cav batch. So the cav batch and the 5 meteors. Where were those dragoons? 1 dragoon in queue now. 3 cuirassiers being spawned, but bad timing. And how is it that something can go suddenly so good for one player and just go so dire straight after? And cuirassiers cleaned up. Heavy cavalry on your skirmisher mass. And that's all she wrote, and a reinforcing batch of 1 dragoon will not be enough to deal with this cav army from China, and he has to frantically run back. And that was the risk of going skirm cuirassier. Usually you'd see musketeer cuirassier as a strong combination versus China, but going skirm cuirassier just made you so vulnerable to China cav switch. And 5 meteors is one of the strongest shipments that China player has, and one of the shipments they often send most games anyway. Okay, 2 Keshik batches from the Summer Palace have come out as well, so just went for the anti-cavalry army, which has actually, well, Old Hand could have arguably been better, but it's been a safe play from Stanley Winston, that has. And as Kyo says, didn't really do enough as he wanted to. Okay, 3 Kyos going for a raid on the villagers, scouted out by this native scout as well, so that's exactly where these Kyo says are going. But meantime though, the pressure is on in minimoult's base. Stanley Winston pushing in with his cav, trying to trade with the arquebus says, but backing off now. I don't think he should be backing off. Cuirassiers, big raid though. I suppose he's pulling back his cav now to deal with the Cuirassiers, but 3 Meteors, 1 Iron Flail versus 3 Cuirassiers. I'm not too sure if Mini wins that, but okay, here come the reinforcements. Keshiks and Changdaos. Well, this has been back and forth so far. Probably a little bit more balanced out at the moment. I feel now that the 5 Dragoons has come out. There's 3 Cuirassiers out on the map. Minimoult's in an alright position. Okay, big batch of reinforcements of Dragoons and Skirmishers. Can Stanley pick off these Dragoons when they're arguably out of position at the moment? 1 goon goes down. More goons coming in again. Focus fire from his Arquebusiers, and essentially 2 Dragoons need to go down there. Cuirassiers going for a raid, trying to find something big here. May turn on these 4 vills in the coin mine, but being chased by China cavalry behind. Standard army out from Stanley Winston from the barracks. And looks like these Cuirassiers won't find anything too interesting to get. This goat finally fattened up. Stanley Winston, he has lots of coin. May actually want to eat this goat now and try and get enough resources to continue production from his war academy. Soon we'll know we'll need a second war academy to help out. Right, Redcoats trained from the consulate. 20 arquebusiers out in the field for Stanley Winston, funded off the standard army batches as well as the 10 arquebusier shipment as well. Flying Crows out on the field, so Minimoult may want to go for a 2 Falconet play to defend. He has enough Dragoons now to deal with this China unit, but the Chinese scout out here did scout that deer, musk deer going down, but hasn't scouted, looks like, this hunt, and that could have been a nice raid for Stanley Winston, but I suppose that's all your China cavalry, and to have them so far away from your army is risky. The fact that Stanley Winston did not age up with the Porcelain Tower means that he's somewhat on the back foot in terms of eco, but I suppose the Summer Palace and the Confucian Academy do produce 3 units over time, so the eco from China is not as bad as the graph does suggest. Needs to watch out for these cav units. Can't lose these cav units, and he's just pulling them back straight away. Big batch of Cuirassiers out for Minimoult, and he's got a really nice 3 unit composition here with Falconets as support. Stanley Winston, where he won't need hand mortars because he's got the Flying Crow here. Crate shipments could be an opportunity here, but you don't want to send something like 4 Iron Flails. Maybe Intervention Musks could be quite nice. Intervention Musks do come out, and that is scouted out straight away by Minimoult, and that's some good native scouts exploring there. The Chinese monk is currently down, but so much HP. Hopefully could be revived soon, but the big fight's coming in though. China Cav, realising there's so many Dragoons here, wants to lead with the Arquebusiers here in this case. Flying Crow out as well. Okay, Flying Crow is exposed, and Stanley, what are you doing, mate? Can you say straight in on that Flying Crow, picking up for free. Okay, a couple of Changdaos now on the Dragoons. Dragoons actually taking a lot of damage there, but the Falconet's getting a real tasty volley on those Changdaos. Infantry army behind. Redcoats and Arquebusiers doing some good range damage, but now the Changdaos are gone. Cuirassiers are going straight in onto the Arquebusiers, but blocked off by the Redcoats. Redcoats getting a very good trade. Chinese cav top side actually breaking through the Dragoon line onto the Falconets. 1 Falconet going down. These cav units from China very, very strong versus Falconets, and the second goes down. And this Arquebusier mass has been protected. It's still standing strong. Couple of cav units out from China clean up the remaining skirmisher units, and I think Stanley has broken Minimoult here. Big batch of 5 Cuirassiers though. We'll hope to get a good trade here. Redcoats straight away into melee. I'm expecting to probably lose all his Cuirassiers, but should pick off the remaining cav units and maybe 5 Arquebusiers. But the fact that there's still cav units, Redcoats doing hand damage and just buying time for these Arquebusiers firing behind, that should be very tough to come back from Minimoult. Four Iron Flails sent from Stanley Winston, so reinforcing cav batch. Iron Flails have come back in fashion as a shipment. I said it last stream, I'll say it again. I haven't seen this shipment being sent for such a long time, but the Confucian Academy players been back in, and I suppose with Confucian Academy, you want to be aggressive, and sending cav shipments and more military is what you want at this point. Archbishop says charging in at the moment. China Cav leading the way, but these Iron Flails, specialist in anti-skirmisher damage, 22 with a multiplier, as well as splash damage as well, perfectly what he wants to do with his skirmisher mass, and with no reinforcing Dragoons just yet, and shipment nowhere near, these skirmishers going down. I'm expecting the resignation soon here, and the GG has been called indeed. Minimoult resigning, Stanley Winston clawing it back to 3-2, and didn't I say at the start of the series, guys, I predicted a 3-2 for Minimoult, and 3-2 we have indeed. So another neutral result from Mandarin Duck Squad. They need more points than the New World Challengers. So 2 series down, 2 sets of 3-2 results, and the Mandarin Duck Squad up 6-4 at the moment. That game, a lot of bit of early problems for the Chinese eco in terms of trading posts and villages and wood gathering. It just feels like a lot of wood was chopped in the first age, and just such a slow age up to the second age. Aging up, well, ages up to about 450, but did have to put 5 vils on that summer pass to get a respectable age up time. Actually, maybe 5 minutes. It's around that time. But being pushed in with musketeers harassing that Wonder as well. Stanley aged up to the third age at about 8 minutes, and the French player was up before the Chinese player as well, so that was quite tough to deal with. But Stanley Winston, though, decent eco during transition, mainly being funded off those 2 crate shipments, the 700 coin and 700 wood. Afterwards, though, French player, much better eco. No Confucian Academy for Minimoult, and he did have the market down towards the end. I was unaware of what his market techs were, but I'm going to assume it was the first tier baseline techs. But military population, Stanley ahead, getting a really good trade-off in the early parts, picking off a few of those musketeers for free, as well as then that cav batch coming in to clean up a Minimoult. Minimoult did then push out the cuirassiers. It was looking very shaky, but cav batch, 5 meteor hammers from Stanley Winston to reinforce, picked apart those cuirassiers and had the lead at that point, and was managing to keep a consistent lead ahead of Minimoult. It was close. Okay, Minimoult probably had the better army, but there was lots of free units being made from the Summer Palace, the Confucian Academy, the Arquebusier count was strong, and then the fight came in. Cuirassiers went straight onto the Redcoats. Redcoats in hand combat took them down. Changdaos took down quite a few Dragoons before the Falconets picked the Changdaos off, but then the China cavalry was engaging in hand combat versus Dragoons. They fell over, and then that exposed the Falconets. Once the Falconets were picked off, the Arquebusier mass from that point was unchallenged, and there's no way Minimoult could get any more cuirassiers. He already sent the 3 cuirassier shipment, 5 goons, 2 Falconets, and both his skirm shipment. He had nothing left to deal with this skirm mass from China, and that prompted resignation and Stanley winning that final game. So GG has been called. Well played to both players. Close series, not as highly skilled as some of the other series we're playing, but that's the benefit of the EPL, is having a variety of skills and showcases out. And if you've liked the French Civilization, well, you've seen so much French gameplay this series, so I bet you'd be satisfied with that. But I'm going to hop out into the lobby.